This is Common Sense Radio. Straightforward and no excuses.
All right. Come on now.
This is the Steve Gruber Show.
Call me crazy.
Oh, yeah.
What I said was perfectly right and spot on accurate.
Boy's got a mouth like a cannon, always shooting it all.
Stop.
Got it.
Stop. I mean, you're way off script.
Got it in me. Gonna quit until it all comes out.
Hey, boy.
Long education.
Yeah, it's not cynical. It's common sense.
Pay attention to me when I'm talking to you.
I'm gonna rock the nation. Rock the nation.
Genuine, accountable, and raw. Here is Steve Gruber.
So why are you going up in these numbers in Iowa and in New Hampshire, and Hillary Clinton is going down?
Well, I can't speak to what's going on with Secretary Clinton, but what I can tell you is we've been around New Hampshire and Iowa, the bigger cities, the smaller towns, and people are sick and tired of establishment politics. They're sick and tired of establishment economics. They don't want to see billionaires getting more tax breaks and cuts to Social Security, which is what many of my Republican colleagues are proposing. And by the way, don't get upset with me here. They're getting tired of establishment media. They would rather see serious discussion about serious issues rather than so much of what we see.
What's the biggest difference between you and Joe Biden?
Joe is not in the race. I don't want to speculate about Joe, but I will tell you the differences between the Secretary and myself. I voted against the war in Iraq. I believe over a period of years we should raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. I believe we should reestablish Glass-Steagall to start breaking up these large financial institutions on Wall Street. I am very opposed to our current trade policies and helping to lead the effort against the Trans-Pacific Partnership. The Secretary has not made a decision on that. I am strongly against the Keystone Pipeline because I think we need to radically transform our energy system. Secretary has not made a statement on that as well.
There you have it, Bernie Sanders laying out the reasons he should be president. And apparently that's a connection that he is making. Welcome back to the Steve Gruber Show on a Monday. Seems that he's making that connection because now he's leading in New Hampshire by 22 points. You heard me right. 22 points he's leading over Hillary Clinton. Among likely Democratic primary voters, 52 to 30%. That's a CBS YouGov poll. So, I mean, it's a real poll. Is Hillary Clinton still the front runner? Bernie Sanders is ahead in Iowa. Bernie Sanders ahead by 22 points in New Hampshire. Hillary's still holding the lead in South Carolina, but Joe Biden's coming on strong there. So you ask yourself, I mean, seriously. There you go. So what's the way, is she the front runner? Because I've said for a very long time she's not going to make it. I believe that to be true. Meanwhile, Scott Walker dropping out of the big get-together, the Republican Leadership Conference coming up this weekend on Mackinac Island. We'll be up there broadcasting on a Friday. He won't be there. Governor Walker says he needs to focus on Iowa and New Hampshire. That's because Governor Walker has paid a higher price for the surging Donald Trump than, well, pretty much anybody. Jeb Bush paid a high price, but Walker was the guy sitting in the number one position. He was sitting in first place in many polls here just, a month ago? And Scott Walker now is falling to 10th place in a lot of the polls. Trust me, it's a tough blow for him, and disappointed not to see him this weekend. We've talked to him in the past. But he's not going to be there this week. Cruz, Kasich, Fiorina, Bush, Rand Paul, they will all be up in Mackinac, my understanding. So we'll keep an eye on all of that. The manhunt for a gunman who murdered a rookie Kentucky State Trooper underway this hour. Another police officer gunned down in the streets. Trooper Joseph Ponder gunned down, pronounced dead at Princeton, Kentucky. Police looking for 25-year-old Joseph Thomas Johnson Shanks from Missouri. apparently gunned the state trooper down after a short car chase. I don't know. So it brings me to this column that I found in the Wall Street Journal. After 2 decades of the most remarkable crime drop in American history, law enforcement has come to this. Quote, I'm deliberately not getting involved in things I would have in the 1990s and 2000s. An emergency service officer in New York City tells me, I won't get out of my car for a reasonable suspicion stop. I will get out if there's a violent felony committed in my presence. A virulent anti-police campaign over the past year, initially fueled by a since discredited narrative about a police shooting in Ferguson, Missouri, has made police officers reluctant to do their jobs. The Black Lives Matter movement proclaims that the police are a lethal threat to blacks and that the criminal justice system is pervaded by racial bias. The media amplify that message on an almost daily basis. Officers now worry about becoming the latest racist cop of the week, losing their job, or being indicted in a good faith encounter with a suspect if it goes awry or is merely distorted by an incomplete cell phone video. With police so discouraged, violent crime has surged across 35 American cities this year, surging crime. For example, homicides up 76% in Milwaukee, 60% in St. Louis, 56% in Baltimore. Murder up 47% in Minneapolis, 36% in Houston. But something more fundamental than even public safety must be at stake. There are signs that the legal order itself is breaking down in urban areas. There's a total lack of respect out there for the police, says a female sergeant in New York. The perps feel more empowered to carry guns because they know that we are the ones running scared. The lawful use of police power is being met by hostility and violence, often ignored by the press. In Cincinnati, a small riot broke out in late July when the police arrived at a drive-by shooting scene where a 4-year-old girl had been shot in the head and critically injured. Bystanders loudly cursed at officers who had started arresting suspects at the scene on outstanding warrants, according to a witness at the scene. During anti-cop demonstrations in Ferguson last month, 18-year-old Tyrone Harris opened fire at police officers, according to law enforcement officials, and was shot and wounded by police in response. A crowd pelted the police officers with frozen water bottles and rocks, wounding 3 officers while destroying 3 police cars and damaging businesses. Ferguson police said, "We're ready for what? We're ready for war?" Some protesters reportedly chanted. In Birmingham, Alabama, an officer was beaten unconscious with his own gun last month by a suspect in a car stop. There was gloating on social media. Pistol whipped his ass to sleep, read one Twitter post. The officer later said that he had refrained from using force to defend himself for fear of a media backlash. Who in their right mind would become a member of law enforcement today? You think about that. This is from the Wall Street Journal, by the way. Heather McDonald. It's worth reading. Published September 13th. You're listening to the Steve Gruber Show on a Monday. We'll be right back.
Michigan, born and raised with Midwestern values and Michigan common sense.
All right, in just a moment here, we're going to continue with part 2 of our Todd Corser interview. This is where it's going to get really colorful, so shall we say. It's going to get really colorful here, coming up at the bottom of the hour with Todd Corser, the former Michigan rep, embroiled in that sex scandal. That'll be a made-for-TV movie, Lifetime Movie Network at some point. I guarantee it. Speaking of TV, our next guest, Mike Hughes, TV critic and aficionado, here to join us again on a Monday. Mike, welcome back to it.
Thank you. And I know you're excited now because your 2 favorite events are coming up on TV. Certainly tonight, the new Dancing with the Stars premiere. I know you're excited about that. And then Wednesday
my palms
night,
are sweaty.
second Republican debate. You can't beat those 2 for entertainment, right?
No, my palms are sweaty, I'm telling you.
And you know what? They have a lot in common, too. Dancing with the Stars and Republican debate, they both got way too many contestants. We should know who they all are, but we really don't. And we can all agree that at least one of them is crazy, but we don't agree on which one.
All true.
That's true.
All true, Mike. That's
so
well done.
between those, you got to watch them both, right? They're both at 8
There you
o'clock
go.
tonight. Dancing with the Stars is on ABC on Wednesday. The Republican debate is on CNN, and they'll be very interesting.
Yeah, well, the ratings for the last one were off the charts, 24 million people.
Yeah. Double anything else. The one that was on Fox News Network had double anything else on TV that week. So people are still going to watch. There's going to be a lot of curiosity, so it'll be interesting. Yeah. This is also the time when all these reality shows are ending, and even if you haven't been watching the shows, you might as well stick around and watch the ending of them just to see who wins. Tonight we find out who wins So You Think You Can Dance on Fox, which is still my favorite show. I think it's a terrific show. Then Tuesday
You do?
night, America.
You love it?
What?
You love it.
Yeah, it is. It just So You Think You Can Dance. It should not be confused with Dancing with the Stars. These are really, really good young dancers. Most of them are 18 to 20 years old. They do amazing things, and they're down to the final four. There's a street dancer, there's a tap dancer, there's a jazz dancer. They're just talented. You just look at them and go, wow! And there's great choreographers, and they just do amazing things. So, yeah, it's worth watching the finale. And incidentally, they'll all be coming through. They're going to perform at the Wharton Center in East Lansing in a couple months. So it's just worth seeing,
Yeah, well, it sounds like fun.
Yeah, and that's a good show. And then the next night, Tuesday night, America's Got Talent has its last performances. 10 acts performing. People vote. Then on Wednesday night, you can see who wins America's Got Talent, and you can see who wins MasterChef. Those are both on Wednesday night. So, you got a busy night of that. You got the Emmys coming up Sunday, and then a week from tonight, the real season starts. And, boy, you can imagine how excited we're going to be next week.
Well, Ivy and I were actually talking about it. There's nothing left to watch. We've exhausted all of our options. We got nothing. Suits is done, House of Cards is done, and we started looking. Well, Good Wife is coming back in October, thankfully. So we got that.
And you got the new shows to at least try. You know what? To give you the example, that show Blind Spot. It comes up. It's in the same spot where you first discovered Blacklist before, 10 o'clock on Mondays. And so it starts a week from tonight. And it's just a really, really good show. I know you.
So when does Blacklist come back?
That's the one where they sit there and they, on the opening thing, they find a big bag in the middle of Times Square. And this makes them suspicious. Police surround it. They open up the bag, and there's a naked lady inside. Right away, the show's got our attention, right? Okay. So we're watching that. The naked lady, it turns out, is tattooed with all kinds of things, which are clues for things that are going to come, cases that are going to come up. She can't remember who she is. But it turns out she's got all kinds of skills. She's obviously something to do with special forces or something like that, but she can't remember any of it. It's just like a Blacklist. It's very big. It's over the top, and it's just real interesting to watch as it unfolds. So I know you're going to like that one. Some of the others you'll like or dislike, but let's face it, it's worth the ride just to catch some of these new shows and see which ones grab you.
All right, there you have it.
Plus the fact that Longmire is on Netflix now too, right? New season started now. You can catch all the Longmire episodes if you want to.
See, I didn't know that. See, that's why I have you here to help me out.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
It just started on Longmire. All you got to do is get a Netflix subscription, watch it all, and in one way or another, life is good.
There you go, Mike. Your life is good, Mike. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and incidentally, one other thing to watch tonight and tomorrow night, this Walt Disney Profile on PBS. Just a very big, rich, deep portrait. Well worth watching. 9 o'clock to 11 o'clock tonight and tomorrow on PBS.
Perfect. Mike Hughes, always a pleasure, my friend. Have a great week.
Okay, have a good time. We'll catch you. Yeah, bye.
There you have it. All right, so the show. Did he say Longmire's on, which I always like that program. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but I always enjoyed it because I think it's a very true-to-life program about what it's like to live. Well, I went to college in Montana. For those of you that don't know, I went to college at Montana State. I went to Lansing Community College and then Montana State University. So I know a lot about the West. And you've been there, too.
Oh, yeah. It took me 2 years ago for the first time. And wow, what beautiful country that is. That's
why I like Longmire, because I think it's true to what it's really like out there, the way people live and behave and conduct themselves away from the tourist areas, of course. Mm-hmm. Did he ever say when Blacklist starts again? He didn't.
I think he did. I was actually just going to look at that because I had completely forgot about Blacklist, which is our most favorite show.
Yeah, I don't know. House of Cards is pretty tough.
Yeah, it is pretty good, actually. And they're not supposed to be back until February, so we have a long way to go for that one.
They need to be making more of those and not less, and because we don't have enough entertainment here, and we need more time to sit on the couch. Anyhow, straight ahead today, part 2 of the interview you've been waiting for. This is where it's going to get a little sticky. Todd Courser, part 2, the former Michigan representative who resigned at 3:12 a.m. Friday morning. The Gamrot was then tossed out an hour later, removed from the body. He would have been in the same place, but he decided to resign before he got tossed. And so you got that going on, and he's going to be back. It's an interesting conversation. Todd Courser, will he run for office again? Well, let me tell you something. He won't rule it out. He may actually run for office again, Todd Courser, for all these crazy things that have gone on. All right, well, stick with us right here. It's the Steve Gruber Show on a Monday.
Keeping you in touch with Michigan and the world.
You're pushing too hard, but pushing on me. You're pushing too hard on what you want me to be. You're pushing too hard about the things you say. You're pushing too hard every night and day. You're pushing too
It's
hard.
45 after the hour. Welcome back. There you have it. Todd Courser. Well, you make of it what you will. He said, I'm going to slant it. However, the way I'm going to slant it is I ran it in its entirety unedited. So it's up for you to decide. If you've got comments, go to the Steve Gruber Show Facebook page. Make sure you click like, post your comments. I might read some of those here before the day is over or tomorrow. Denial. Yeah, it's not just a river in Egypt. Michelle Fecteau, we're shifting gears now. Michelle Fecteau, our next guest here, Michigan Board of Education member here. Michelle, welcome to the program.
Well, thanks for having me.
And yeah, I'm sorry to put you in this position to, follow that up. So.
Really?
And so it is. Let's get to a sane conversation. See we can do that. A sane conversation, Michelle Fecteau. A new approach to Detroit education to help students, and it's been a drive for many, many years. And so, Lieutenant Governor Calley has been out there trying to find a way to improve education, my understanding. Tell us where we are.
Okay, well, let me start with the Lieutenant Governor. One of the things that Lieutenant Governor Calley and I have been doing together, and I am a Democrat and he is a Republican, we've been going together across the state to listen to parents around special education because we've been hearing and experiencing, he and I both have children with autism, a lot of issues with the way that the special ed rules are being done. And we're hearing from parents that they're really feeling like really frustrated and powerless and trying to get services for their kids, which is something we can both relate to, and and also looking at issues around for kids that are in special ed that are subjected to what's called restraint and seclusion, where if they were in prison, someone would be getting in big trouble for that, but we allow that in school for kids who are special education. So we're trying to look at ways to improve things and do it in a really bipartisan way. We've been going, like I said, we've been to Traverse City, to Detroit, to Benton Harbor, Lansing, and hope to go to the UP soon. So that's been really exciting to see, and a lot of parents coming out. And people can also go to his website. He has a survey, his official website, Lieutenant Governor website, and there's a click to a survey there at the bottom of the page. So anyway, we hope people will do that. And he testified before the State Board of Ed last Tuesday, and I think it was really powerful, especially being the parent of a child with a pretty severe disability. So that's something that I think is positive that's coming out of Lansing.
Well, sure, and so, all right, so at what cost?
Yeah, that's a good question. Well, as he points out, some of the things, it's a matter of not doing something. And so it's, it like this seclusion and restraint. And so it's not saying, implement this big, expensive program. It's saying, just, look for an alternative ways of making sure that we're not doing things that are harmful to kids, special needs kids.
So let me stop you right there, because I do not have an autistic child like you, or Lieutenant Governor. But here's my question. Is it possible, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, I might take some heat for this, is it possible that putting a child off by themselves, seclusion if you will, or restraining them for their own safety could on occasion, on a case-by-case basis, be the best course of action on occasion?
Well, the board had passed some rules around all of this in 2005, and it really regulates when and how you're supposed to do these types of things, and right now it's sort of like people do whatever they want, and there's really no regulating how it should be done. It's just a recommended policy because the board doesn't have the power that the legislature has to pass those things. But yeah, a timeout attended with somebody, that's one thing. Putting somebody away for long periods of time away from the learning environment in a punitive way to try, it's different. So there's times when I can say, I have had my son who needed time alone to calm down, who was attended, who still had the opportunity to do meaningful work, but my son was also put in a straitjacket. And my husband always says it was a good thing he went to pick up my son and not me.
Because something would, I understand that Mama Bear wouldn't have liked that.
Yeah,
so
no, Mama Bear would have probably taken out a couple of people, but maybe I shouldn't say that on the radio.
Well,
Yeah, I'm just saying, hypothetically. But we've heard just stories where people have been removed from classrooms for months and outside of those areas. And I do think we have to look at funding because the federal government has not, they're the ones who implemented the law idea to make sure that kids were with special needs like this and special ed were included. But they've never reimbursed and paid for it the way they mandated it. They don't even pay 20% of the costs, even though they mandated it. So this is a real problem. We need, there needs to be efforts to fully fund the mandates, because I know, like in Detroit, speaking of Detroit, they have huge bills, tens of millions of dollars a year.
The whole state does. There's the problem. I mean, you've identified the problem, Michelle. We're somewhere between $75 and $150 billion in debt at the state, where we have a $55 billion annual budget. Our roads aren't fixed.
Right.
And people are always clamoring for more money. Most often, and the way it is, Michelle, education. Well, we spend twice as much as any other developed nation in the world, and yet here we are trying to figure out how to spend more money on education. So there's your challenge.
Yeah. And, you look at where you're spending the money, where you're putting the money, and how come other countries are doing so much better than we are. But, yeah.
Well, I've got some answers for that. Tune in Monday through Friday, Michelle. I'll explain that from time to time. Michelle, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Have a great day. Brought to you by Mesa. Good business, good health, and great schools this hour.